Hey everyone, thanks for checking out another video. So, ChatGPT, I have to do another video. It just keeps shocking me with all these results, and I wanted to do another coding video because code's kind of my thing, and I just thought I've been trying some things with it, and it's been amazing me, kind of, and I've been seeing other people do things, and I want to just kind of show a real demo where it's like, what is it like to just kind of back and forth with this thing? And I'm going to put it through its paces. I'm not going to give it any breaks. So let's just jump in. So here's ChatGPT here, chat.openai.com/chat. As you know, it loves to tell you that it's a language model. So let's just jump right in here. And what I wanted to start with coding. So I did a video where I had it make code, where I had it make things in 3JS, and I tried to make a clock and a happy face, and it went okay. It didn't go great. I had another video where I kind of just talked to it, and I didn't do it any code at all. And with this video, what I want to do is try to give it some code, give it some ideas, talk to it, and see what it's like as almost like a little bit of a rubber duck or talking to some other programmer just to get a little bit of a back and forth and some thoughts. Because it's been pretty interesting too. So let's kind of, as a base, what I'm going to do is use my side project, DatalOS. It's somewhat popular. I've posted tons of videos about it, and I thought, let's just find some code and let's just give it a shot. So I thought, let's do some code that has a test. And that kind of narrows it down a lot in my code base because I don't have a lot of tests. One of them that I happen to have is this function here. In generic functions file, there's actually a lot of random functions in here, but I thought let's just grab one and see. And I don't think it's going to do perfect, but I want to show you this back and forth. So here's the code right here. Basically all it does is you just give it a size, and it'll give you like a Windows 10 version of the formatted size. It's kind of not perfectly sensible, the size, so I've kind of coded it here with very few comments. And let's just give it a shot. So let's say to it here, and I had a case I actually wanted to add because I was looking, and Windows 10 supports higher than, let's say up to, in this code here, I only ever show gigabyte as the maximum formatting. I also want to do terabyte and petabyte. So let's do that. So I'm going to paste the code in first, and I'm going to go back to the top here. So you can just dump code in, and I'm going to put some conversation in front of it here. And the conversation that I had prepared here was add code to handle terabyte and petabyte sizes. So I'm being kind of rough with it because I'm not saying like TB and PB. I'm saying terabytes and petabytes. I'm talking in a different language than what's in the code. So it's got to make some connections right there. So let's just do it and see what happens. And nice, it's going to do a quick one on me. So right away, it's already got a result. You can handle terabyte and petabyte sizes by adding additional if statements in the get format size function. Okay, well, obviously that's what I wanted you to do. I see here there's a petabyte one. So it actually has added. It even understood the 999 multiplication, presumably. I wonder if it did. That's actually interesting. So this math here was absolutely, I think, was correct. At least it was when I wrote it, and it still is 176. But did this actually do the math the way that I expected it to? 224. No. So I bet what it did here is I bet it did 1024s all the way. So it's already introduced a bug, interestingly enough. Let's see if actually, I have no idea where that number came from. That's an interesting number. So let's call it on that. But let's see if it did the rest of the code okay. The rest it actually did. So this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted this extra condition added. And unless something sneaky snuck in, I think it basically did that. So let's just call it out on the fact that this number is not that multiplication. So looks good, but is not, but whatever the hell that number is, I'm not going to speak it out loud because it's too big, is not this. Let's call it on that. You're correct. The value for bytes and petabyte is not correct. It should be calculated as that. To fix this, you can update the value. Okay. Okay, so it stopped pre-caching the value. That's one way to do it, I guess. That's interesting. So the reason that I had written those down and commented it was just so that it didn't have to do the math every time. Not that it is, I mean, depending where you put it, it only does the math once anyways. But I figured, hey, I'll just do the math ahead of time. So it's decided not to, but I like the solution in that it's just like, hey, there you go. I fixed it. But let's say that I wanted to cache that value. I wanted to cache that. Is it an equation? I guess so. Addition math. Oh, let's call it an equation. It was an equation. I wanted to cache that equation. To cache the equation for calculating it. So it knows I'm talking about the petabyte value. And it knows about changing it, I think. Although it's, oh man, it's even gotten worse here. What was it saying for cache? You can define a variable bytes and kilobyte and use it to, okay, so it's cached the 1024, but not all the multiplication math. Okay, interesting. It's fun that it's doing this. in this way. But see, here's the fight we have with it. So it gave us a little bit of what we wanted, but not completely because that number wasn't quite right. I could have just done the math and fixed that number. Maybe that was the right number. I'm not sure. I don't think it was. Let's try to clarify this more. I wanted all the multiplication equations to be pre-calculated. But you see how we're having a conversation with it. I'm not really mincing words or thinking too hard about how I have to phrase something. At the same time, I'm not getting exactly what I want, including right here. Or no, perhaps, let's see if it did it. No, it still didn't do the math. Okay, so did it really understand pre-calculated values? Perhaps it did, perhaps it didn't. I guess it depends what it imagines the scope is here. But as you can see, it can get a little bit tough to kind of get what you want. I mean, if I was talking to somebody right now, I would hope I would be able to clarify this. But let's actually try by taking the code this time and saying, I don't want this math done in code. Pre-calculate the numbers as the constants. Constants. And I'll just paste this in so we stop getting a million other code, hopefully. It's like, hey, just fix this one piece that I care about. To pre-calculate these values. So math is not its strong suit, I guess, because it still seems to be suggesting doing math for me. Or putting math in the code, because it doesn't seem to be able to do it. So I think that one's a swing and a miss. Let's try the next little piece of this. So let's switch topics on it. It's done what it can with this. Let's tell it we want to focus on the get format size function. I want to refactor the get format size function to not use conditions. This was another one I thought was interesting because I was almost just wondering, like, I don't know if it's necessary, it makes sense, but it's just like, how could you refactor it? Like, I have a few ways I imagine you could refactor it, but let's let it try to refactor it and see what it can do. So I wanted to refactor that function. You can refactor the function to use a switch. Okay. So I would almost consider that a type of conditional. I also don't like that it keeps giving me all the code all the time. It's a very verbose language model. That's one thing I've noticed. But otherwise, it did refactor it with a switch, and the switch isn't bad. Now, let's say we don't want conditions and we don't want switches. Let's try that. I want it without conditions or switches. Now, I think it's probably going to give me some kind of mapping or something like that, but it's still thinking out of the box, which is fun. And it understands what I'm asking. Instead of using if statements or switch statements, you can use an object with size ranges. Okay. So that's pretty neat. I would say probably doesn't work at all, honestly. And if we were to try to run tests on this, we would probably run into some issues. But that's something we could actually do just for fun, you know, if we wanted to. So we've mangled this thing quite a bit. I don't think that this completely makes sense because we've lost the greater than. Actually, let's just tell it that first. We've lost the greater, or is it greater than or less thans? It was less thans. We've lost the less than comparisons. Or is it checks? Let's call it checks. We've lost them. We've lost the less than checks. You are correct. The size ranges object can define the maximum size for each range, but not the minimum size. To fix this, you can add the minimum size for each range to the object. Okay, so it's thinking out of the box. It's decided to turn it into some kind of size ranges object. Oh, wow. That's kind of an interesting one. So it's really thinking out of the box. I don't know if this is necessarily the way I would have done it. Well, with the infinity here and everything. But let's try the next interesting piece that I wanted to do, because I do have a test for this code. So let's just run this code. It's going to fail probably on every test. But what we can do is we can at least laugh at it together a little bit, and we can learn to love again with it. So let's paste the code as it is now. My ESLint might be a bit mad with it, but for the most part, it's accepting. The code is functional. Operator cannot be applied to type number and string. What does it think is a number and a string? Let's just ignore that. That's just my ESLint being a bit tricky. And let's try this test now. So it's probably going to fail in every case, but what I want to do is I want the results so that I can tell it. So as we see here, it failed on a lot of the cases. And interestingly enough, we got a result here that we got like some checks and we got some X's. So it actually did okay with the 0 and the 1 tests. Great. Let's go back to it now and tell it that. So I ran it through some tests The ones with X's in front failed. There we go. So we got 2 with the check, and the rest are with X's. Let's see if it can understand that. The problem is that the format number function is not... It jumped right to the problem. I wonder if it just knew. It's like, yeah, I know that was buggy. You came back to me. You got me. So it wanted to change the format number function. It's done it. Now it wants to spit out everything in the world, like always. Let's just take format number here while it's doing its little conversation. I don't know if any of this other stuff got fixed, but let's assume format number was important. And let's just go right into changing that and see what that gets us. I've got a feeling it's not going to change much. Oh, I see. It changed this 1 to 1,000. That probably fixed something at the expense of something else. Let's see how many tests we get through now. It actually changed nothing in the results. So let's tell it that. You still failed all the tests. And let's see if it can handle that. That didn't help. The same tests failed. Now, ChatGPT has a little bit of an existential crisis. The problem is that the size parameter is being divided by the maximum size for the range. It's interesting that if you just keep telling it it's wrong, I wonder if you could keep telling it it's wrong to the point where it's right, and you just keep pushing it. And it's like, oh, I thought I was right, but here's the problem now, and here's the problem. This is where it becomes a bit of a little a liar, kind of, or a tricker. So get format size is now what it's saying needs to change. So let's just try that. We copy the new one. But it has a kind of confidence that it probably shouldn't have. It has the confidence of a senior. Not really. Seniors that don't have necessarily confidence. Not to say that I'm one, but a senior developer, not a senior like an old person necessarily. Okay, what do we get now? Did more pass? Nope, same ones failed. So without looking at the code, I kind of like the back and forth of this, but I'd also like in the future if somehow you could set up a better flow so it's like able to run its own code. You can just give it a test. Like that would be a cool thing. In a minute, I'll try giving it the test and I'll be like, well, here's the test. Can you just fix this? Let's say, but let's just try, or yeah, let's just do that next. Let's just give it the code for the test, which I think is right here, and say, here's the test. So fix the code so that it passes these tests. To fix the code so that it passes the given tests, you need to update format number function to correct the criteria. It's interesting to think that it understood that it got a test, it ran them. What did it do with those tests? It's very hard to imagine. Okay, so let's see here. It switched format number and it switched get format size. I don't know how it switched them because I wasn't paying attention to its suggestions. Looks like there might have been a subtle change, but I'm honestly questioning whether there was. Let's do one more run of a test here and see if we can get a little bit better result. Not really, honestly. So ChatGPT's got some real confidence. Let's give it one more try. That didn't fix it. Come on, dude. Like, figure it out. But to me, this back and forth is just fun, honestly. Like, it would be funner if it was a little bit closer with its hits and misses. And that's where I see the glimmer here. That's where I see that this is the future of code. But we're not quite there yet. But this back and forth is something I never even would have considered with a computer just last week. And now it's like, why not just dump it any random code? I mean, earlier I had tried with 800 lines where I just dumped the entire function file and I just said, give me some refactor suggestions. And right away it was like, you could try this, you could try that. I got another AI there trying to talk to me too. So it didn't finish the code, but at the same time here, I think it was pretty much off track. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to reset the thread. We're going to say that trying to refactor code a little bit out of context, not checking it to try to call it on every little problem that it's added. Probably you're going to be fighting with it. Probably this isn't its best use case. Let's try some more conversational stuff, but stay with code here. Going back to my project, we got issues. Everybody's got issues, and I keep track of these issues here. And I thought it'd be fun to just try to talk to it about some of these problems, and see. Like first off, let's just try literally pasting in this problem. So let's just try this. I have an open source project which has an issue posted. Here it is. Can you help? And we'll just, I mean, I probably didn't even need to give all of that prelude because it's just such a helper all the time. But let's anyways just dump this and see. I don't know about that build log. Let's try not to dump the, yeah, let's ignore the build log. Let's just see, oh, well, and here's the build log this guy posted here. Let's just say this part here was the best. Yeah, let's just give it that and see what happens. It's difficult to say why your deployment is failing without more information. Some things that you can try include making sure that you have the latest version of AWS. So this is, I mean, that's a good tip. I never suggested that to the person. One little error that we got that we can kind of clarify on is this error here. Let me tell it that. I got the error. The root value has an unexpected property target. Let's see if it has any suggestions if that happened. Because this is the same thing here where someone told me that, or I had checked it and it's like, okay, I don't know what to do with that. Hopefully ChatGPT does, because I don't think we actually solved this one yet. I think in the end, I thought it might be something to do with AWS deploy, and I did find some Stack Overflow pages to suggest that, but it's good to get ChatGPT's opinion on it. The error message, the one I just posted, usually indicates that there's a problem with Amplify YAML. It looks like the target property is not a valid property. Yeah, so that was kind of the aha, obviously. But it turns out that it's not even configured. So that's like another, let's tell it that. I thought this too, but the target property is unset in the repo. So what does that mean, dude? What do you think? And I'd like to be able to talk with this slang, like I'm saying repo instead of repository. I say target, but I didn't put it in like code quotes. But it knows target like the variable, not target like you're talking about some kind of thing you want to point at. If the target property is not set in your YAML file, then it's likely that there's another issue causing the deployment. One possible cause could be that you're using an outdated version of, again, it talks about the CLI. So it's possible that's the case. I mean, maybe I'll talk to the person and suggest that. So they're right there. There's one little thing in the backlog where maybe I could post a comment and maybe they could run with that. Let's say, boom, okay, we work on that one. What's the next one here? Changing from Hexelis crashes Safari. Okay, so Hexelis is like a graphical wallpaper. Let's just give it like a real basic one there. I think I actually wrote something down here for this one. I have an animated background using WebGL that crashes Safari whenever I close it. Why do you think that is? I never ran this question to see what it gives as a result, but that's basically what's going on here. And you could give it more info, and maybe it'll ask some leading questions. It doesn't actually ask a lot of leading questions. That would probably be cooler if it did. It usually just says it doesn't have enough information. It's kind of like, hey, you got a little information for me? Let's see what it got here. I'm sorry, but I don't have enough information on specific WebGL and Safari. Without more context, it's difficult. Yeah. Yeah, see, the problem is in this case, I don't have a lot of context, so it's a tough one. But it does have a little bit of information, and it looks like it tried to understand that one. So we didn't get too far with that one, unfortunately, either. If we were to look at, like, most of these are, I actually know the issues are, and they're actually kind of just like, I need to sit down and code them. So these ones, you're probably not going to be able to solve easily. And then if I go into the discussions here, let's try to have a discussion with ChatGPT about one of the discussions in here and just see what it thinks. Add some little features. So this person here has requested this. Let's see if I can get it to respond as if it's me. So respond to this discussion post on my open source project. Can it do that? I wonder if I have to tell it to respond like as a person. And I did respond to this, by the way. So yeah, I did say thanks for a suggestion, etc., etc. But I wonder if it were to respond, or if I were to be like, okay, it wants some little features, like can it suggest any other ones? So it responded, hello, thank you for the suggestion. Is that what I said? Thanks for the suggestion. That's how I started it. We appreciate your feedback. Oh, okay. Well, it's not a customer support. So if I was like, okay, I don't have time for all these, but I want to give a few seconds to try to spice this up a bit. I mean, I would have some tweaks to it. Like, first off, write this in the first person. Oh wait, did it do Daedalus? How did it know Daedalus? Oh, was that part of? Did this person say it? Thank you for being a fan of Daedalus. Oh, okay. He mentioned it. They mentioned it there. It's interesting that it was able to call that out. Write this in the first person. So it's pretty cool that it's able to pick up on these little things. Like I didn't even notice that the name of the app was written in there, but it picked that up and knew that, oh, that's the project that he's talking about up here. So that one there isn't so much a discussion. I guess if we were to build off of this, this is where I like you can even word it as if you were talking to him. Like pretend that this was something he said to me and respond. But in this case, it wasn't really asked like for feature ideas. Maybe we can try that though. Let's try that. So write a response from the commenter in which they have more feature requests. Let's just prepare for more feature requests by having ChatGPT imagine what this commenter is gonna request next. So I think that's what I'm asking. Like this is where it gets meta. What can we do with this thing? What can be done with language? You know, what can you just tell it to pretend? And what's like even possible? Like I guess I could imagine what this person would say. Is it valuable to imagine it? I don't know. Thank you for considering my previous suggestion. I have a few more requests for features that I think would really improve Datalist. First, it would really be great if you could customize the background and color scheme of the OS through the settings app. Did this guy call out any of that stuff? How did it know any of that? How did it know it was an OS of any kind? Interesting. Maybe because of the start menu and the word icon. Secondly, I think it would be useful if Datalist included a built-in file manager. Well, it already does, so this commenter didn't know that. It's silly. Oh wait, it's not a commenter. It's ChatGPT imagining a person that I just told him about a second ago. Pretty crazy. So that's another thing you could do with it, I guess, is you could have mock discussions, I guess, in preparation for the discussions tab. Um, that's just such a short little example. I don't want to get into too many more, but there's just some more cool things you can do with ChatGPT, and I just want to keep showing people the fluency, the ability to just kind of shoot ideas to it. And here again was in more of a code way where we're talking about my side project. We're thinking about different things it can do. On that note, I actually have one other thing I thought it could do that was kind of cool the other day, where I was just kind of explaining my side project to it. So my side project is a desktop environment in the browser. Give me some suggestions to make money with it. Like, hey, why not? I want to make money. And it's like, here's what I have. Here's the idea. Now, I have my own ideas where it's like, well, I could do this or this, but just having another thing to say these things thoughts to have it come up with the ideas, it's like maybe my thinking's broken and I'm just missing obvious stuff. Well, so you can just bounce ideas off of it. Like here it is. One way you could potentially make money with your desktop environment in the browser is by offering it as a paid service. Well, duh. You could charge a monthly or yearly subscription fee for users to access your desktop environment. Okay. You could also offer a free version, right? Additionally, incorporate. Okay, that doesn't really clarify what the features would be. Let's build on this. What would be the key features that customers would pay for? Like, that's kind of important. Again, we're just bouncing off ideas. It's again related to code, related to my side project. Hey, let's how to make money from it. But just a second ago, we were talking about feature requests. Before that, we were dealing with the issues in the issue board. We were talking about refactoring the code. I mean, you could just come at it from any angle. Anything that you want to talk about a thing with, you could do with ChatGPT. So I've gone back to code to kind of show like, hey, I'm a coder. Here's how I could use it for code. But it could be used for a lot. What do we got here? Some key features that customers may be willing to pay for in a desktop environment in the browser would include increased storage space, faster performance, and advanced security features. Yeah, those aren't bad ideas. I mean, can we build more on that? Let's say for the increased storage space. Let's say currently all storage is client side. How could I offer increased storage space? Right? Because it's not possible right now because the browser is where their storage space is. So the suggestion's a little bit off, but maybe if I kind of call it out or be like, well, how would that work? How I would imagine the response, how I would imagine it would work is you would have to link it up with APIs like Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that. What does it say here? If your current setup only allows for client-side storage, one way you could offer increased storage space is by implementing cloud storage. That's what I'm talking about. This would involve setting up servers that can securely. Okay, this would give users. So let's say I don't want to run my own servers. I'm just gonna say that I don't want to run my own servers. Like the hint there is like can I use any existing servers, APIs, like, again, like Cloud Drive, OneDrive, Google Cloud, Dropbox, whatever it might suggest. That's something I want to do in the future. And here we go. It's suggesting exactly that. Maybe not in the right order, but I mean, there you go. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that I knew about these things because I thought about them, I just came upon them basically in like a 3-minute conversation with ChatGPT. So again, let's end it there. That's just some ideas, happen to be code related. If you like this video, please throw me a like. Please subscribe to motivate me. Keep it going. Keep these videos going. And yeah, just leave a comment if you have any cool ideas for my next video. So thanks for checking it out. See you in the next one.